Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. This is your brother Nafis Abu Zayd, and with me is my sahib
Isa Abu Isa. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
brothers and sisters, inshallah ta'ala. We would like to, alhamdulillah, before getting into today's talk or this evening talk, we would like to mention that first and foremost, we do not spend all of our time entirely dealing with the issue that we see that's prevalent in the community, the back and forth, the argumentations, the disputes, this one trying to put down that one, or that one trying to put down this one. That is not our aim, that is not our goal. As Shaykh Uthaymeen rahmatullah ta'ala alayhi, he mentioned commentary on the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that ad-deenu nasiha, that the religion is advice. And he mentioned that one of the things about advice is that you want for your brother or you want for your sister that which is khayr, first and foremost. You want with your brother, you want for your sister that which is khayr. And anything that consists of khayr that you want for yourself, whether it be highly Jannah, paradise, or anything like that, any good and wholesome thing that's tayyibat, then you also want that for your brother, or you want that for your sister. So I want you to understand that these talks and these videos that we have been putting out on the internet is first and foremost with that in mind. Our intent is purely advice, and our intent is not just to bring down our brothers, but we want khayr for our brothers and we want khayr for our sisters, inshallah. With that being said, we'd like to mention to the people that over the weekend, we was by the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala, or over the couple of days of the week, we were able to benefit from one of our classes that we have been doing, which is from the book which is famously known Sahih Muslim, which was offered by Imam Muslim al-Hajjaj. And he had, with the commentary of Imam Ibn Razam, as well as the commentary of also Shaykh Uthaymeen. And we've been benefiting a lot from these talks. And before we begin our talk, we would like to mention some of the benefits that we took from Shaykh Uthaymeen rahmatullah alayhi that's very pertinent and pertain to this issue here. One is that from the hadith of Jibreel alayhi salam, the Shaykh said that it is from the guidance of the Salaf al-Salih rahimahumullah, may Allah have mercy upon them, al-ruju'a ila ahli ilm, that it's from the guidance of the pious predecessors is that they will return back to the people of knowledge. And alladina hum ahluhu, those who are deserving of that, those who are deserving of that station. And we know that knowledge is of different types, and we know it's of different levels. And we know that returning to the people of knowledge can be referring to them. Actually, you can refer to the people in the present form, or you can refer back to their works, especially from the Salaf, their books and their explanations of classical works, so forth and so on. However, he said, وَالَّذِينَ يَدْلُونَ فِيهِمُ الْوُصُولَ إِلَى الْحَقِّ. These people of knowledge are those who good thoughts are thought about in terms that they are the ones who, by referring back to them, can help you arrive or ascertain the actual truth. And this is taken from the actual hadith itself, from the two men that were mentioned in the hadith, that they returned back to Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhuma. Another benefit
says the second benefit that we took from the class, أن الإنسان قد يقرأ القرآن وقد يحرص على طلب العلم. He said a person could read the Quran and really be firm on seeking knowledge, and it's really something that he loves doing. He's trying to stick to seeking knowledge. وَلَكِنَّهُ يَضِلُّ. But he may still go astray. And this is very important because that's frightening that you'll see a person reading all night, standing up. But if something's missing in the sincerity and he's doing it for the wrong reasons, you'll see that person go astray with the Quran and Sunnah in his hand. That's very dangerous. That's very scary. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from that. I mean,
also that shows you that we should not believe that just because a person is on Quran and Sunnah, meaning that that person would die absolutely upon that. No. You have to always constantly pray. As Allah Jalla wa Ala tells us after mention about the deviation of those who have deviation in their hearts, who try to rely on those ayahs that are not so clear. And he mentioned about the Rasikhun, those who are well grounded in knowledge. He said the dua that they say, رَبَّنَا لَا تُزِغْ قُلُوبَنَا بَعْدَ إِذْ هَدَيْتَنَا وَهَبْ لَنَا مِن لَدُنْكَ رَحْمَةً. Allah said, oh our Lord, Allah said that they make the supplication, oh our Lord, do not allow our hearts to deviate now that you have guided us. Also, the Prophet ﷺ is authentic, is reported that he authentically said a dua where he asked Allah Jalla wa Ala for firmness. Ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinik. "Oh Allah Jalla wa Ala, make our hearts firm upon your religion." So also Ibrahim alayhi salam, he made dua as well, that when that he seen that mankind was committing shirk, that he said, "Wajnubani, oh my Lord, keep me and my progeny safe from shirk." So we should know that a person, that this is very important, because a person can be someone who is diligent, and he can be studying the books, he can be studying, memorizing the mutun, and also at the same time he can still fall into something that's not correct. And that's what we see happening today, that a lot of us, alhamdulillah, we have the right information in our hands, we have the scholars to go back to, but there are some errors and mistakes that have been made along the way, and we ask Allah Jalla wa Ala to keep us safe.
And he continues to give an example. كَلْهَذَا الرَّجُلُ مُعْبَدْ جُحَيْنِ وَزَمْرَتُهُ. This man, Mu'bad Juhayni, was the person in Iraq who he studied, he sought knowledge. Even mentioned in the hadith that he was known, him and his companions were known for people that sought knowledge. That's what they did all day. And he says, فَإِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا يَقْرؤُونَ الْقُرْآنَ وَيَحْرَسُونَ عَلَى الْعِلْمِ. They used to read the Quran, and the person that stuck to knowledge. لكن ضلوا هذا دلالة مبين يتفرعوا هذا. And he says that they went astray, and this is clear misguidance. And they not only they went into disbelieving that Allah had knowledge of what his slaves were going to do before they did it. They fell into the mistakes in the qadr, which led to kufr, the disbelief, which led to disbelief. So that means that an individual, he's not making dua, and he's not making those dhikr, and he's not. I was mentioned to me that a brother, we're not going to say the brother won't break anybody's back, but it was mentioned to me that one of the students of knowledge in overseas in Saudi Arabia, Medina, he used to stay up at night and make dhikr. He used to stay up at night and make dhikr, and Allah opened up the world for this particular brother, because he said one of the things he used to see him do at night, he would wake up to go to the bathroom or something, he would see the brother like this, making dhikr. SubhanAllah.
Also, another point, last but not least, a benefit that really touched my heart from the class that we've been taking with Sahih Muslim, is that Shaykh Uthaymeen said, أنه يجب على إنسان يصل الله سبحانه وتعالى دائما الثبات على حق. And this is what we was talking about earlier. That Shaykh Uthaymeen said it's incumbent upon a person that he constantly asks Allah, that he frequently asks Allah for firmness upon the truth. No one should feel as though that they are upon the truth just a given. No one should feel as though just because they happen to come across the correct creed, or they happen to be, associated with the minhaj, that they feel as though absolutely at one time or one point that they are upon the truth, that you're safe. He said, وَوُصُولَ إِلَى الصَّوَابِ. Also, that you ask Allah Jalla wa Ala constantly that you can arrive and ascertain the truth. And look what the Shaykh going to get ready to use here, showing you our beloved Prophet ﷺ in his sunnah. He showed us this. He said, وَقَدْ كَانَ النَّبِيُّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمْ يَسْتَفْتِحُ صَلَاةَ اللَّيْلِ بِالْإِسْتِفْتَاءِ مَشْهُورٍ. He said, we think that the Prophet ﷺ, he used to, in his night prayer, he would say in a famous supplication, the opening dua, he would say in that opening dua before salat, he would say, اهدني لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك. He would say, oh my Lord, guide me to that which I differ in. Show me, guide me to that, meaning that of the truth, for that which I differ in, by your permission. إِنَّكَ تَهْدِي مَنْ تَشَاءُ إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. And indeed, you, Allah, you guide whom you will to the straight path. And this is a tremendous point, because we always got to constantly ask Allah, as we see our beloved Prophet ﷺ do, to ask Allah Jalla wa Ala to clarify the truth to us and make sure we're firm upon the truth, and do not allow us to go astray, and do not allow us to deviate. Do not allow us to deviate by the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala. To not allow us to deviate by the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala. And with that being said, we're going to go into the actual title of the talk right now. Our brother Abu Isa is going to mention a verse about reminding us sticking to our contracts. What you're getting ready to hear is not, again, we said is a vice. What you're going to hear is a contract that took place about roughly, we would say, 12 years, about 12 years and 4 months. And it was taken with the names of the people that you see in the title. They have taken this agreement with Sheikh Muhammad ibn Hadi al-Maqali, Hafidullah Ta'ala, and his name is actually written at the bottom of this particular agreement, and it has been circulated and spread around. I hope we share the link on our page, where you can see at the bottom the names of the individuals that we placed up on there, and whatever names that we have left off is probably due to the reason we couldn't see it. He have a seal on there that say Maktabat Salafiyya, Salafi Publications, that we did not place in there, that was actually on there. We're going to go over that agreement and look at some of the points that the scholar asked these particular brothers and anyone else for that matter to stick to when giving dawah, especially here in the West.
No.
Especially here in the West. Peace, inshallah.
We're going to bring a piece of an ayat in Surah Al-Ma'idah, the first ayat about sticking to obligations. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu awfu bil-uqud. He said, O you who believe, fulfill your obligations. And Shaykh Imam Sa'di, rahimahullah, he says, هذا أمر من الله تعالى لعباده المؤمنين بما يقتضيه إيمان بالوفاء بالعقود. He says, this is a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to his slaves, the believing slaves, that this is from the requirements of Iman, is fulfilling the obligations. From Iman is to fulfill obligations that you have agreed to. He says, بإكمالها وإتمامها وعدم نقضها ونقصها. And he says that individual, meaning that to fulfill your obligations, meaning completely, not leaving anything off from it, not violating it or decreasing it in anything. Once you agree to something, you have to stick to everything that's in that agreement, especially once you agree and sign your name to it. It's upon you now to stick to all the agreements that's inside of it. He says, وَهَذَا شَامِلُ لِلْعُقُودِ الَّتِي بَيْنَ الْعَبْدِ وَبَيْنَ رَبِّهِ. And this also includes the obligations between the slave and his Lord. مِنْ الْتِزَامِ عُبُدِيَّتِهِ. From sticking to the worship of Allah alone. You made a contract with Allah. You said, La ilaha illallah. That's a binding contract. And also when Ana lastu rabbikum, when Allah said, if I'm not your Lord, and people said, Bilal, that's a contract and an agreement that some of the human beings break it and some of them keep it. May Allah make some of those who keep it. Ameen. And then he mentions Shaykh Imam Sa'di wa qiyamu biha atimu qiyam. He said that a person, he establishes it with the most completeness. He doesn't leave anything off from the obligation between him and his Lord. And may Allah forgive us what we have left off. Ameen. وَيَدْمُ إِنْقِصَاص مِنْ حُقُوقِهَا. And not decreasing in the rights of this ubudiyya in anything. وَالَّتِي بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ الرَّسُولِ بِطَاعَةِ وَاتِّبَاعِهِ. And also the contract between that you made to follow the Prophet and to obey him. That's a contract. That's an obligation upon you to keep to. But between you and the Prophet ﷺ, that Allah made bonding upon you. وَالَّتِي بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ وَلَدَيْنِ وَأَقَارِبِ. And also what's between you, the individual, and his parents and his close relatives. That's also obligation that has to be fulfilled. The Shaykh is different obligation that need to be fulfilled. بِبِرِّهِمْ. And he says that from treating them kindly and not breaking the ties of the kinship. Right? وَعَدَمُ قَطِيعَتِهِمْ. And not separating from them. And we know this is explanation that goes to dealing with family members not Muslim and all that. That's not the time for this in this talk. وَالَّتِي بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ أَصْحَابِهِ مِنْ قِيَامِ حُقُوقُ الصُّحْبَةِ. And also between him and his companions, people that he hang with, people that he considers be his close friends. He said there's rights, there's obligations that go along with that contract and that agreement. It's an agreement. You say this is my man, like we say, or my companion. That's an agreement you make. I have an agreement with this brother, right? He gets on my nerves sometimes, but I love him. But I have agreement with him. We have agreement with each other. We have to stick to the obligations that Allah said that's between a person and his companion. There's obligations there. And he says, fil ghana wa faqr wa yasir wa asr. He said, even in times of being rich or poor, ease and hardship, these obligations don't change because your condition changes, because your stomach is growling, because your pockets are empty. You still have to stick to the obligation that you agreed to. And he says, وَالَّتِي بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ الْخَلْقِ مِنْ عُقُودِ مَعَامِلَاتِ. And also between him and the creation, and how to deal with them, not just humans. How you deal with a cat, how you deal with the donkey and the horse. There's obligations. Allah has made agreements and obligations between you and the horse that you own, you and the cat that you own. Allah has made an obligation, you and the bird that you own. And he says, كَالْبَيْعِ وَإِجَارَةِ, like buying and selling or renting and things like that, and other than them. And he says, وَعُقُودُ تَبْرِعَاتِ كَالْحِبَّةِ وَنَحْوِهَا. He said also the obligations of, you say you're going to donate something. You say you're going to give a gift. You agreed to give it. You have to give it. There's no such thing as Indian giving in Islam. You got to keep to those obligations as much as you're able. And he says, بَلْ مِنْ قِيَامِ حُقُوقِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ الَّتِي أَقَدَهَا. And also keeping the obligations upon you between you and the Muslims. أحدها الله بينهم في قوله إنما المؤمنون إخوة. And those obligations between you and the normal Muslim that you don't know. Just because me and his brother were companions, but there's Muslims who I don't know, it's not necessarily my companion, but the same obligations that are generally for everybody, I have to give those same obligations to this brother I don't know. Now, there may be certain obligations between me and Abu Zayd that not between me and Ahmed, because it's not my companion. But there are general obligations that are between me and everybody that said La ilaha illallah. You have to keep to those obligations. He said, بِالتَّنَاصِرْ عَلَى الْحَقِّ, like aiding one another upon the truth. وَتَعَاوُنْ عَلَيْهِ, and assisting one another upon the truth. And he says, وَتَعَلُّفْ بَيْنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ وَعَدَمِ التَّقَاطِعِ, and also being in harmony between the Muslims, and not separating from each other. And that is the end of the statement of the Shaykh Imam Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala.
No, alhamdulillah, this is the actual contract. This was written by Sheikh Muhammad ibn Hadi al-Maqali. It has been circulated on the internet. And may Allah Jalla wa Ala aid us in our translation, trying to render it to the English language the best as possible. Wa alaikum salam. Inshallah ta'ala. The Sheikh begins off with the praises of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sending the salutations upon our beloved messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then after that he says, أما بعد
فإن إخوة الكرام في مكتبة السلفية في المدينة برمنغهام الدولة البريطانية. And he begins by saying the brothers, the noble brothers in Mektaba Salafiyya, which is Salafi Publications, in the city of Birmingham, in the country of UK or Britain. They also call it the United Kingdom, I think. زوروني وحصلت بيننا مناقشة للعديد من الأمور التي تهم دعوة السلفية عموما أو في بلاد الغرب خصوصا. And he said, they visit me and we had a مناقشة of many different affairs and issues.
Meaning they had a discussion.
Excuse me. That was between, that was some of the important issues of the da'wah, the call to Salafiyya, generally, and specifically for the Westerners in the West, Salafiyya that's going on in the Western countries. وكان ما ناقشته معهم قد ناقشهم فيه أو في بعضها. And he said, and this is some of the things that we discussed, that I had this munaqasha or this discussion with them, this debate, not necessarily debate, but this discussion with them about these particular issues, some of them. It says, أيضا مشايخ الآخرين وبناء على هذه مناصحات ومناقشات مع إخوة وهم. And he said also with different mashaykh too, that was built upon this advice that I had for these particular brothers and these affairs that we had a discussion about with the particular brothers that's mentioned here. And he said, from those people, our brother Abu Khadeejah Abdul Wahid, our brother Hassan Somali, and our brother Bilal Abu Hakim. فإنني أقول أن أتم اتفاق على ما يأتي. And he said, and I say that these are the things that we agreed upon, that we're going to now say after this conversation. These are the things that we agreed upon after this conversation.
First and foremost, so that you know, there is some background to this actual agreement that took place. Here the Sheikh is letting us know and informing us that actually he had written down, he addressed this issue dealing with these specific brothers here, but there were some other brothers, their signatures are placed at the end of the actual the agreement, that also they were present. They were there by the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala, and he mentioned that some of the other mashaykhs that he didn't mention their name as well, even though he put his name on it. And the names that he mentioned specifically that was in the arena of dawah is, as you all heard, Abu Khadeejah Abdul Wahid and Hassan Somali and Abu Hakim. And when we say Bilal Abu Hakim, we're talking about Bilal Davis. And then the Sheikh, as the brother said, the brother mentioned what the Sheikh now said this agreement is based upon. He said that, we agreed upon the following. The first of them is the Sheikh, he said that محاربة الغلو بجميع صوره سواء كان في الأشخاص أو في غيرهم كمؤسسات الدعوية ووزن الأمور بالميزان الشرعية. And this is important because he said the first agreement that I want to have with these particular brothers here in the West, and them giving their dawah in the West, is that they wage war against the extremists in all forms, in all appearances, all forms. The same, whether it be dealing in regards to personalities or other than them from the different dawah association or organizations. And they weigh these affairs with the scale that is weighed with the Islamic Sharia. That which is understood how to wage war against these type of political groups or dawah organizations. And here I just want to make a comment that the Sheikh is not talking about the permissibility to these brothers to make hukms or tabdi'.
No.
It did not. It did not give them, with this statement here and this agreement, it did not authorize them that they can make tabdi', that they can place innovation on anyone. He did not give them that right. And that's only the right of Allah and His Messenger, as we mentioned before, that Ibn al-Qayyim said, the right of tabdi' and the right of takfir, placing someone or declaring someone to be a disbeliever or someone to be an innovator. He said all of this, as Ibn al-Qayyim said, Haqqullahi haqqu rasuli. It is the right of Allah and His Messenger. It's not the right of the ulama. The ulama only can gather the evidence and make sure the evidence are presented before they place that hukm which they gather upon an individual. So it's not a right of a person that they can say, I can place tabdi' on someone. What he mean here by waging war against the extremists is those particular groups that already been warned by the ulama. The ulama, for example, the Ikhwani Muslimin has been a great fitna. And there's an article that we will post up to send you the link. Actually, who is the Ikhwani Muslimin? Who was the head of them? How did they start from Hassan Banna? What was they start? What were some of their, some of their goals, and some of their principles and things like that? How was a membership? How you have to sign up and all of this type of stuff? There is really detailed information to that. So the Ikhwani Muslimin has been refuted by the ulama, and this is what the Sheikh is alluding to, that these groups like the Ikhwani Muslimin, the Sufis, and
ISIS,
the
Al-Qaeda,
now that because this was taken back then in 2005, ISIS wasn't around,
these places,
or different groups or associations that have went off and reared off that they already written refutations against.
Exactly.
That's what they was talking about in terms of you wage war against them, whether it be in personalities or other than that. The second point that the Sheikh bring in the agreement,
فيما يتعلق بالتدريس أو إلقاء المحاضرات. He says, as far as what is dealing with giving classes or having lectures,
setting up lectures,
and like they said, فنقول أنه ليس لأحد أن يصدر تدريس ومحاضرات حتى يتأهل عليما. And he says that it's not for anyone to establish a class or any lectures until he's knowledgeable. وتصدر له إجازات شرعية لازمة في ذلك إما من جامعات شرعية وإما من مشايخ معروفين الذين درس عليهم وتخرج على أيديهم في علوم الشرعية. And we're going to pull some points out of this. He says, until he becomes knowledgeable, right? Until he has the ijazat, until he has the things that makes it permissible for him now to teach different fin and things like that. The Sheikh is not saying that a person can't teach, but the point is that when a person want to teach usul fiqh or mustalah hadith, and he doesn't have any ijazat, and he doesn't have any knowledge from the scholars to teach that, then he should stick to things that he know and not try to open up and have lectures and things about usuli issues when he doesn't have any ijazat. Number one for that. And also it shows that the scholars do what? They uphold paperwork. They uphold ijazat. Like we belittle those things. But the Sheikh here is saying if he doesn't have the right ijazat, the right paperwork, right? And he says also he went to Islamic university, some Islamic university. Or he sat at the feet of the known scholars of the Sunnah, and he left from them, he got from their hands, the knowledge of the Sharia.
Actually, just to bring in, first of all, the ijazat is of different types. And we know that ijazat just doesn't deal with paperwork. That's a shahada. Ijazat can deal with a scholar basically telling a student that I can ascertain that this individual sat with me on this particular book here, and I give him the permission to either translate this book, either to teach this book. This is a form of ijazat. And there's different types of ijazat.
Like Quran too. They get it in Quran.
Exactly. You can get it in the Quran, or you can get it in hadith, and so forth. But my point is bringing this up here is that the point that I want to bring from here is that the Sheikh is making an agreement that there are multiple means of a person giving knowledge or giving dawah. There's multiple means for a person giving dawah or knowledge in terms of the Sheikh saying that either if you're going to be one who established a call, he's telling these brothers, if you want to establish a call, or meaning in teaching and educating, and also establishing muhadarat, then I would say to you that make sure that you are the people that can do that. That you have the necessary qualities that is noteworthy to do that. And those qualities are the following. Either you graduated from an Islamic university, or you learned from well trustworthy scholars that are known. As Sheikh Uthaymeen said, the trustworthy scholar comes with two, and he brings the two ayats. It comes with two conditions. One is he qawi and he's amin. He's qawi in his knowledge, and he's amin, he's trustworthy in terms of his disseminating the knowledge and implementation of it. So we say that if a person is well known from the scholars and he learned at their hands the different science of different ulum of the Islamic Sharia, of this Islamic Sharia. So the scholar here is saying that this is the agreement. Those affairs is not going to, inshallah ta'ala, those affairs is not, by the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala, doesn't mean that you cannot teach, because you're going to see later on, he's going to talk about what they actually can do. If they're not of this caliber here.
Exactly.
And we know that it was said to us that our brother Bilal Davis, Abu Hakim, is one who actually graduated from, I don't know if he actually graduated, but I know he went and attended the university. I don't know whether or not he graduated or not, but he did attend the university. The next point, inshallah ta'ala, is the third point, and the Sheikh said here, and this is an extremely important point. He told the brothers in question, and this is for any other brothers as well as in the field of dawah as well, not just have to have an agreement with Sheikh Muhammad al-Hadi, but literally look at how the scholars was addressing the issue of giving dawah in the West. He said that as it connect to or relate to issuing religious verdicts, لَيْسَ لَهُمْ أَنْ يَفْتُوا النَّاسِ لِأَنَّهُمْ لَيْسَ مِنْ أَهْلِ الْفَتَاوَى. He said it is not for these particular brothers in question that they can issue religious verdicts because they are not from the people who have the quality or qualified to issue those religious verdicts. For example, an individual cannot, and I say this again, and we have reports that this has actually happened, individual cannot separate a man from his wife, or a wife from her husband. There is no local imam, there is no student of knowledge, there is no scholar for that matter, right? There is the Islamic judge who has that actually ruling or power to actually carry that out, to separate a man from his, there's no scholar, there's no student of knowledge that can do that. So it's amazing when we find reports here in the West that there are brothers who are causing people to get khulas, separations, or getting divorced. These things cannot happen. And this is with the agreement with the brothers. You cannot do this. You cannot place this. You can't sign your name on a khul'ah that, we separate the brother. And we've seen some of this stuff happening. And we ask Allah Jalla to forgive us and as well as forgive our brothers for falling into this error, because this is a clear thing that the Sheikh is saying, stay away from. We're not talking about those students who have reached the level that they can pass or they can go over the fatwa of the ulama and deal with those issues. We're not talking about that. Here he's talking about you do not pass religious verdicts because the people in question, they were not of that status.
Exactly.
He knew that about them. Sheikh Muhammad al-Hadi knew they wasn't. He said, وَعَلَيْهِمْ أَنْ يَرْجِعُوا بِالْفَتَاوِ إِلَى أَهْلِ الْعِلْمِ. He said, rather it is incumbent upon them, the brothers in question, that they return back their religious verdicts to the people of knowledge from the mashayikh. Another example of giving religious verdicts or hukams that we see that's prevalent, and we advise our brothers, is placing rulings of tabdir. Whether that be a blanket tabdir, whether it be, saying that, and when we say tabdir, I mean the clearest one to be an innovator. Whether it be a blanket statement, saying, for example, everyone that doesn't come to this masjid or don't go to the known Salafi masajids, they are Ahlul Bid'ah. This is a blanket statement that you're making, that this is tabdir.
But it's a fatwa.
But this is a fatwa. Yeah, this is a fatwa from the fatwa. This is a religious verdict. This is a hukam. You cannot place this. This is the Sheikh saying you do not do. Right? You cannot do this. You have to return back to the people of knowledge. And wait till you hear a little bit later on. He's going to get even more specific and detailed about this. He said, return back to the people of knowledge in order for them to pass their fatwa after they look at the situation. And then you spread their fatwa and their verdicts. Like we have the books now, alhamdulillah. We have the fatwa of Ibn Uthaymeen. We have the fatwa of Ibn Baz. We have the fatwa of Sheikh Rabi'. We also got the majmu' fatwa of the past of Ibn Taymiyyah, which is not translated in the way. But you have different things like that, alhamdulillah. You can go back and refer to that. He said, أَوْرَيُرْسِلُوهَا إِلَى مَنْ كَانَتْ تَخَصُّهُ إِنْ كَانَ خَصَّةً. So now he's saying that you're going to have to send these things back to who? To the people that is specifically
they specialize in that.
They specialize in that. They specialize in giving fatwa. And who specialized do we know? and the students know. The Lajnat al-Da'ima.
Nah.
Right? The Permit Committee of Scholars. We know that they specialize in giving fatwa. The Mufti.
Mufti.
The Mufti specialize in giving fatwa.
Yep.
These the people that we're going to go back to. And the ulama who reached the stage, the level of issuing fatwa. So we're going to go back to those when we want to look for some fatwa. Our brother going to bring the fourth agreement.
He says رابعا فيما يتعلق بترجمة الدروس أو الكتب أو المحاضرات عليهم أن يلتزموا بالدقة في ذلك وإيمانه. And he mentions here and he says, as for translating the classes of the ulama, the books of the ulama, and translating the lectures of the ulama, then it's upon these particular brothers who have been mentioned here, right? Our brothers, may Allah preserve them. I mean, that they stick to what? Being very particular and sticking to being trustworthy and particular when they translate. And I bring something like, sometimes you'll listen to a certain person that's translating, and it's not, you know how sometimes you'll read and you'll translate, and you may not translate word for word, but you give the meaning. I've actually seen people leave off whole statements in their translations. That's not keeping to that manner. Leave off whole statements.
No.
And so when you translate a class and you translate a book and you translate a lecture, you have to make sure that when you translate and you're sticking to the spirit of the translation, you're sticking to the actually what the class is about, what the book is about, okay, what the lecture is about, you're sticking to the spirit of it. You're taking the information and you're giving the information back how it should be. You have to be just in your translation and fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Also another point I think what my brother is talking about, and meaning that if you're translating for the ulama, because sometimes that's very difficult to translate on the spot why the person is speaking. So I understand that for those brothers who have that ability, which they used to call shorthand, some are stronger than others, we know that you're not going to catch everything. So you have to write down the gist. But I think what my brother's talking about is when the scholar give an answer that maybe either be detailed or he mentions something, and the brother deliberately, the translator, leaves off a section or a portion of that
That will make it understood.
That make it understood just to fit an agenda that you know that you want. That's what I think the brother is talking about, because there are many routes. There are actually schools on translations, and there are rules and regulations of translation. There are many routes in terms of how to give translation, whether it be word for word, whether it be by idioms, whether it be by expressions and so forth. They have a whole bunch of books on that type of stuff. However, we're saying that the Sheikh is saying be dikka, meaning you want to be meticulous to the point. You want to, and you want to remember that this is a trust that is binding upon you. Yep. When you're translating the words of Allah, the ayats or the ahadith or the speech of the ulama, then it's binding upon you to make sure that what you're translating, that you are translating to the best of your ability to that which is correct, so that you don't make a mistake and twist it, so people don't take it the wrong way. But our brother is alluding to what we see countless times that have happened from, and we're not saying it's just our brothers mentioned in question here, but any of the brothers in the arena of dawah, they have to be careful from not translating the whole entire thing that the Sheikh said, leaving off partial stuff, twisting some translations to apply to this, twisting some words to apply to that. And this is something that we want our brothers to stay away from, especially when, and this right here to Hassan Somali, that we were able to be fortunate enough to hear our brother give a beautiful talk down there in Washington, D.C. However, what tainted the talk a little bit is, in my humble opinion, is that he was taking the words of a classical work of the Shari'ah of Ibn al-Jawri and the explanation of Sheikh Rabi'. He was taking that classical work with the explanation of Sheikh Rabi', and he was twisting the words which I myself, who Allah let me understand a little bit of Arabic, I didn't get that from what he was saying. And he was applying it to the brothers like Muhammad Munir, like Tahir Wyatt, like Shahid Muhammad, like Akil Ingram, and he was applying those words towards them. And I didn't see that in there. I didn't see, even in the explanation of Sheikh Rabi' himself, he didn't mention any names. I didn't see those characteristics, nor was it noteworthy for that. So we want to remind the brothers of this agreement. What happened to the agreement? The agreement is busy yourself. If you're going to translate the works of the ulama, try to be meticulous in detail and stick to that which they say. Stick to that which they say. Do not take it upon yourself now to want to, become Imam Ahmad overnight and apply it to people. Even if you see something wrong from your brother, as we seen in the earlier hadith that we was talking about with Mu'bad al-Juhani, that we seen that those two companions, that those two individuals who saw this and witnessed this, they went back to Abdullah ibn Umar. They went back to a scholar. They didn't place or twist the words themselves, even though they knew what he was saying was incorrect. They went back to someone more knowledgeable than them. We seen that in the narration of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Abu Musa al-Ashari. What did he do when he seen the people counting the pebbles? He was a scholar in his own right. He could have refuted them right then and there. But he went back to Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. As the ulama said, a point from this hadith, showing that you go back to those who have what? More knowledge than you, in terms of before you do something. So we don't want to be hasty.
No.
Like our brother Anwar Wright and our brother Jamil Finch, we remind you not to be hasty in your refutations. Why? Because this here is preceding the ulama. This is preceding the ulama, and especially when your refutations is not academic. Especially when your refutations is not mentioning that the person who's listening to, he's not getting the proof, the evidence that this is actually matching up with that.
He just gets slandered.
He just get a bunch of statements that are not can be ascertained as evidence.
Exactly.
And we want you to be thorough as possible. We're not saying that you maybe don't have gira for the deen. We're saying you want to be thorough. And the ulama, they are the ones that are thorough in their refutation. Henceforth, just look at the refutations that are detailed from the ulama, and you will see that they are thorough. They bring both sides. And they bring both sides, and they also do what? They bring the proof of both sides.
Exactly.
This is important. They bring the proof of both sides. And they show you the flaw in the side that is not correct. They show you the flaw in that. This is from scholars. That's why the Sheikh saying that, he's going to say this later on. You're going to hear it. He means that you go back to the ulama when you deal with these stuff.
And you want the people to leave off the mistake.
Exactly. So fifthly, he said, the agreement is that when they read qira'atuhum, that they're reading of these books, meaning the books of the people of knowledge, that they read the explanation of these particular books from some of the different mutun ilmiya, the knowledge-based texts. He said, لا يعني ذلك أنهم مدرسون يقومون بمهمة التدريس كلا. He said, no, I'm not meaning by that they become teachers that establish this way of education. He said, I don't mean that. What I mean is that they don't become the teachers themselves. Meaning just because they translators, we don't take them in the station or the position of a teacher.
So the person doesn't basically be the shadow. He doesn't explain the text.
Exactly. What he does is he just rely on by transmitting the words and the speech of the scholars to that particular book or explanation of the book, because mutarji'una lahu faqat. Look what the Sheikh said. He said, because you only translators.
That's it.
That's all you are. In this respect, you're nothing but translators. The Sheikh said, you're not scholars to come give your own explanation.
No, you're not.
You're translators. So it's amazing to me when I see people saying, well, let's open the floor for questions. And then when they open the floor for questions, you see people sending up questions that are based to asking questions about divorce. And then the brothers, they respond to these questions.
About riba, about in the bank, and
about
stuff
certain
like that.
different things that you may not be grounded enough to answer. So you want to be careful in that. And then the Sheikh, he goes on, he mentioned another point.
And he says that the sixth point, فيما يتعلق فيما كتبه أخ بلال أبو حكيم, was Bilal Davis. He said he wrote a book about Jarh wa Ta'dil, which is a big fitna right now in our city, right? And he said, and this was on the website Salafi Talk, كبين له أن ذلك خطأ واضح. And he said, I clarified to him that this was a big mistake, a clear mistake that he did. مخالفة لما عليه علماء حديث.
He said, قد يبين له. It should be clarified to
him that this was a big mistake, and that this is when it disagreed or went into opposition to what the ulama hadith were upon. Whatever was in the book, the Sheikh didn't actually mention that, but he says the ulama hadith from Ahl al-Jarh wa Ta'dil. He said, so then he mentioned that this praiseworthy or this glorious science, لما تبين ذلك أقر بخطئه في ذلك. And he said, I mentioned to them that this was a mistake. Basically, the Sheikh mentioned to them that this was a mistake. جزاه الله خيرا وهذا هو واجب علينا جميعا عند ظهور خطأ. He said it's upon all of us that when we see a mistake collectively, a mistake happen from any of the Salafiyin, any of the people of the Sunnah, or any Muslim for that matter, that we clarify the mistake. We go to them and we try to rectify the mistake openly. When you see it, you go to the person and you try to get him to leave that mistake. He says, لَنَا ثُمَّ بَعْدَ ذَلَكَ أَفْهَمُ أَنَّ عَلَيْهِ بَيَانِ لِخَطِّهِ ذَلَكَ وَنَشْرُ رُجُوعِهِ عَنْهُ. And he said, and I understood from that after that that upon them is to openly now spread his return from that mistake. Like, for example, a person writes something, and then we read it. It's in a book, it's in a newspaper, it was done on TV, wherever people look at the whatever they're looking at, and we clearly see it's a mistake. Basically, it's upon him now to go openly now retract that mistake.
If it was done in
if it was done in the open.
And these works, if they done in open, then you have to.
Which was obviously the book is out in the open.
But what I want to point out here is that the sheikh is saying that the brother wrote a book into a science that Rebbe was lofty. He was entitled to write a book.
No, he wasn't.
That.
Actually,
I want to add something to this. Sheikh Muhammad Wahab al-Wasabi, rahmatullah ta'ala alayh, because he passed away, one of the scholars of Yemen, the Kibar of Yemen. Also, he was considered to one to be the students of a Sheikh Mukbil.
No.
He mentioned that this was one of the advice that he gave to the students of knowledge, to stay away from the issues of Jahr wa Ta'dil. He gave them advice, and it's a 20-piece advice that he gave to the students of knowledge, and one of them was, stay away from Jahr wa Ta'dil. Stay away from it. He said, I believe it's the plot of shaitan. And the reason why, as you see here, and look at Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi al-Makali, Hafidullah, look at how he's telling these brothers, and this is what the scholars are saying to them. Don't get involved with that. Don't get involved. This is not in opposition to the ulama of hadith. You don't get involved. Here is Abu Hakim Bilal Davis. You have not reached the level of that in terms of to even begin to embark upon that science.
Exactly.
So even if he made a mistake and the sheikh didn't mention the mistake, the writing of the book itself was a mistake. No. Because he was not worthy enough to begin to write on that science. And this is something that everyone have to fear Allah Jalla wa Ala. Everyone is in the arena of dawah. Myself, the brother Isa. This is something that Sheikh Abu Bakr Zaidi said in his book called Hilat Talib al-Ilm, the etiquette of seeking knowledge. One of the points he said that the Talib al-Ilm, the beginning student of knowledge, he go through 3 stages. And one of those stages is called kibr, arrogance. He goes through that first stage of arrogance. Soon when he knows something, soon when he think he knows something, he starts smelling himself, as so to speak. And this happened with all of us. Soon when we know something, we we get in an argument or debate with someone, what do? We start to lord what we know over them. Yeah, exactly. And we start to think or consider that they are belittled, they don't understand this issue, so we know more. You want to be careful. You want to fear Allah Jalla wa Ala in your knowledge. And that's what we want to tell the brothers as well. What happened to the agreement? Because this agreement here is solid.
No.
This agreement is solid. And this is what we ourselves, by the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala, without even reading this agreement, was trying to stick to ourselves.
Yeah. We just read
the works of the ulama. We don't twist the words to defame or bring towards the people, and we do not author our own books if we're not of that level. Now, if you're in the master program, they encourage you to write your own book and do your own research. Henceforth, you're in the master's program. But we're not talking about those who aren't in the master's program. Some of the students that sat with the scholars in Yemen for a long amount of time, they encourage them as well to do what? They encourage them to write down and do research and study with the ulama. So that's something different.
Everybody's on different levels.
Everybody on different levels. So we want to take this not just towards our brother Bilal, but we want to take it towards everybody in the field of dawah. Remind them to be humble and to remember their level. Remember their level. You don't have to write a book. It was mentioned to us about Sheikh Al-Albani. Rahmatullah ta'ala alayh, that he written a book around the age of 20. No. He did not release the book because he didn't, he knew the book had errors in it, and he was young when he written it. He didn't want to release it. This is extremely important to understand.
Exactly. So basically, man, but the last thing before we go on, it's plenty of shuruh, books about Aqidah, explanations of the ulama, past and present, that most of us who have reached certain levels of Arabic can read and translate. Just translate to our people exactly what the ulama are saying, so our people can benefit. When we get into trying to be more than that, this is the confusion comes in.
Also, look what Sheikh Hassan Somali did when he came here. He read from Sheikh Uthaymeen explanation.
Yeah, exactly. And that was an alim.
That was an alim. He read also from Sheikh Rabi' explanation.
And he could explain those books himself. And he could explain them himself.
But he read for them. Look at the etiquettes of the ulama. That they read from the works of other ulama. Likewise, look at Sheikh Uthaymeen. He was explaining the explanation of the book Hilat Talib al-Ilm from Sheikh Bakr Abu Zayd.
Exactly.
He explained that. So we know that the ulama, this is what they do. And this is what we're trying to encourage the brothers along the way. Remember this agreement. What happened to the agreement? 7. فيما يتعلق بالرفق بالناس في الدعوة والتعليم. This is extremely important. And we ask Allah Jalla wa Ala to make us all to be mindful of this. Meaning in connection to being gentle and showing kindness in the arena of giving dawah and teaching.
No.
You have to be gentle. You have to have generosity. And our brothers over the years, they have created a reputation about themselves that they only work with those who work with them. Henceforth, they make statements that the people are known with the people. We didn't witness from the ulama this type of mentality. I give you a proof. I watched when Sheikh Talim Tawil came here.
Mm-hmm.
I watched when Sheikh Falah came here.
No.
I watched when Sheikh Hassan Abana came here. That the service that these particular scholars have done, they went around to any place that they can go to. And they extended themselves in their service to teach the dawah. They didn't make it seem restrictive to say, no, I'm not going to go to this masjid because this masjid do not openly proclaim to be Salafi. I'm not going to teach these group of people because these group of people do not openly proclaim to be Salafi. I'm not going to do this. They didn't restrict themselves to that. They gave dawah where it was allowed for them to give dawah at. And this is something that we see from their mentality. And this is something that we just say, you want to be kind in giving your dawah. You don't want people to say, no, I don't want to go down there because then people look at us, they give us a mean face, you know, they give us the hard stare.
I'm not wanted. I feel like I'm not wanted. Yeah.
This is not what you want to do with your dawah. Especially Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as Allah Jalla wa Ala said, what? وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظًا فَانْدُ مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. Allah said in Surah Ali Imran, and have you been harsh-hearted with them, they would have broken away from you.
No.
They would have dispersed. They would not have accepted. Talking about the Sahabas. They wouldn't accept it if the Prophet was what? He was hard and lean. You can't be harsh and lean. You can't go to other masjids and demand that they follow you. You can't go to other masjids and demand that they warn against people that you warn against. No. You can't go to other masjids and demand that they follow your lead. You can't do that. This is something you can't do. And this is not what the agreement told you brothers to do. This agreement did not tell you brothers to go around just because the ulama have signed an agreement with you and that you are on that which is correct, to start using a magnifying glass and start weighing everybody else's deen. Well, they are not correct. They are not correct. No one gave you that authority. So you have to be actually fair and gentle. Look what he used. He said, عَلَيْهِمْ أَنْ يَلْتَزِمُوا بِذَلِكَ. It's a must that they what? Stick to this. Stick to that. Why? Because he's going to use the narration of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. لِأَنَّهُ مَا كَانَ الرِّفْقُ فِي شَيْءٍ إِلَّا زَانَهُ. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, why? That there is nothing that gentleness enter, except that what? Except that it beautifies that thing. And there's nothing, and there's nothing that ugliness,
there's nothing that rifq is taken away
arrogance,
from, that it makes it ugly.
Except that it makes it ugly. It makes that thing repugnant. No. Right? And you see this a lot. When you give a smile to your brother or your sister or to your wife or to your husband or to your cousin, to your relatives, how do they treat you back? They smile back or they treat you kind. You open up their hearts. This is something that akhlaq is important and is a part of minhaj. It's very important to Salafiyah. Akhlaq. As the Prophet ﷺ said, what? إِنَّمَا بُعِثُ لِأُتِمَّ what? Akhlaq. The Prophet ﷺ said, indeed, I have only been sent to complete and perfect the character. Ibn Qayyim he explained that the deen is broken to type. Nisfu shukr wa nisfu what?
No.
Akhlaq.
إِنَّكَ عَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Verily you are upon a great manner, a noble manners.
So you want to have akhlaq. And look what Sheikh Muhammad Mahdi is telling these individuals. He said, كَمَا قَالَ ذَلِكَ رَسُولَ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ فِي مَا صَحُ عَنْهُ. And he said, this is what we just said. He said, likewise, that was said by the Prophet ﷺ, and that which is authentically reported on him. And then he mentioned the 8th point.
He says, as far as the mas'alat al-jahr, you know what I mean, I guess refuting somebody or speaking ill of somebody, rad al-mukhalif, or you could call it that, refuting somebody. He said, يَجِبُ رُجُوعُ فِيهَا إِلَى مَشَيِخ أَهْلِ الْعِلْمِ. He said, it's an obligation, hajr, it's an obligation, as far as boycotting scarring. The issue of boycotting somebody. Excuse me. I thought I seen it.
Actual boycott. Go ahead.
Actual boycott. Anyway, he says, as far as the obligation of boycotting somebody, then it has to be returned to the people of knowledge. Let me say it again. This is part of the contract, the agreement. As for boycotting another Muslim, then it has to be returned to the people of knowledge, because the brothers who signed this agreement.
Somali's signature is here. Somali signed this signature.
As far as you brothers,
the signatures are here. They signed it. Also, you can see the document. Only one that is discrepancy whether or not he signed it or not, Allah knows best, is Abu Khadeejah. As I got some background information that he did not sign this. However, the other brothers, they actually put their John Hancock, as we say, they put their John Hancock on it. Right?
And he says that, so the issue of boycotting has to be returned back to the scholars, not to a masjid or imam or a dai or a caller to Islam. And he says, so that the issue can be exposed or opened up to the people of knowledge, and they can talk about the issue, right? Then he says, وَهُمْ بِدُورِهِمْ يَفْتُنُونَ فِي ذَلَكَ فِي مَنْ يَسْتَحِقَّ الْحَجْرِ وَمَنْ لَا يَسْتَحِقُّهُ. He said, so that when the scholars get the information, they discuss it amongst themselves so it can be realized who deserves to be boycotted and who doesn't deserve it. It's not in our hands.
And what do you mean by discussing amongst themselves? Once they weigh it against the evidence.
Exactly.
Once they weigh it against the evidence. This is why when we did the telelink with the Sheikh here at Masjid Ibn Taymiyyah, we did a telelink, a 2-day telelink against the Ahmadiyya, the movement that's building the masjid on Broad and Glenwood. We also have this recorded that we asked Sheikh Uthman As-Salami at that time, and he asked us a very important question before he began the telelink with us. He said, are you brothers sure? Are you absolutely sure that the Ahmadiyya is the ones that are building that place that they're calling the masjid from ground zero? I mean, from the ground up. And this here, I learned a lesson from that. The Sheikh wasn't going to give the talk unless we was absolutely sure 100%, so that he would speak about that which knowledge about those particular people, because we did not want to accuse people of something.
He didn't want to oppress people.
And it seemed as if he was acting on the ayah. إِذَا جَاءَكُمْ فَاسِقٌ بِنَبَإٍ فَتَبَيَّنُوا. As Allah Jalla wa Ala said, when it comes to you a fasiq, when it comes to you a disobedient sinner, then you must verify. And the ulama explained that the opposite holds true. If someone truthful come to you, then you can accept their thing if they're truthful.
If you know that about them.
Exactly. But Allah Jalla wa Ala said after that, so that you don't what? Horn people out of ignorance.
And then regret it.
And then regret it later. So we have to be careful in terms of that. And this is what the Sheikh is saying here. He's saying boycotting is not in the hands of Abu Khadeejah Abdul Wahid. He cannot get on a minbar. He cannot get in the masjid. Likewise for Hassan Somali. Likewise for Yusuf. Likewise for Abu Hakim. Likewise for Amjad Rafeeq. Likewise for any of the brothers in the Dawah. Likewise for Ali Davis. Likewise for Tahir Wyatt. Well, that's a little bit different. Likewise for Tahir Wyatt either, because Tahir Wyatt is not, we're not going to say that he's going to go around just boycotting people. No, exactly. He's going to have to refer it back, and we're going to have to use evidence. Exactly. Likewise for Thamarat, Abu Sajid. Likewise from, from the brothers. Likewise from ourselves. We cannot get up and say boycott so-and-so. Boycott so-and-so. The Sheikh said that the mas'alatu hajra, this affair of boycotting, is in the hands of the ulama.
No.
Why? Because they are the ones with the proper knowledge to assess the situation.
Exactly.
And they are the ones to make sure that no personal affair is involved. We find that nowadays the ummah is split, and they are busy with this type of stuff because of different students of a personal issues of boycotting.
Nah.
Go ahead.
I'll give you Sheikh something. Sheikh Mahmoud Amr, man, he said a statement to me one time before I left Egypt. It's a few years back. Sheikh Mahmoud Amr, my teacher, my Aqidah teacher, he said to me, he said, most of the refutation today, he said, I wish Bin Baz and Uthaymeen and Muqbil and Albani was alive. He said, because most of the refutation you're going to see today is going to be personal, tribal, meaning that when somebody refutes somebody, it's going to be based on some type of qawmiyya, somebody tribalism, where somebody's from, or it's going to be based on some type of the way they feel against somebody, something personal. They're looking for their mistakes. It's not going to be academic. It's not going to be shar'an. It's going to be slander. There won't be any proof to it. It's going to be a lot of he say, she say. But he said during the time of Bin Baz and Uthaymeen and Albani and Muqbil, it was academic. And then you could see they wanted the person to leave off the mistake. He said we don't have much of that anymore today.
Not at all. Just brothers and sisters, over the last couple of days, it's kind of sad, especially here in Philadelphia. We see that the riff-raff that's going between our two brothers, Ali Davis and Jamil Finch. But the response of Jamil Finch is kind of disheartening and disappointing to me, because lately Ahmed Anwar have been on Twitter and they have been responding in a poor way, not academically. They have not responded at all to the article. They have not responded to the legitimate questions that the brother asks. They have made it seem as if Tahir and his company only exists on cyberspace. This is a type of speech that we have been hearing. One brother in Cleveland was actually called about me and this brother right here, and particularly people got rude with him and rowdy with him, brought him out of his character, and it seemed as if it's not knowledge based. I want to know why. Sheikh Ubaid had told Hassan Somali when Tahir Wire was here before to go to him and sit down and have a discussion. Bring your proof, present your evidence. And this is something that he knows that happened, that Sheikh Ubaid told him to do. Because the scholars, they know to deal with issues in terms of knowledge. What did Allah and His Messenger say? Because they act off the ayah, فَإِن تَنَزَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ فَرُدُّوهُ اللَّهِ رَسُولِهِ. If you dispute about anything, if you fall into a discrepancy about anything, you refer back to who? Allah and His Messenger. Now look at the condition. إِن كُنْتُمْ تُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ وَيَوْمَ الْآخِرِ. If you truly believe in Allah on the last day, this is what you're going to do. You're not going to resort to name calling. As Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah said that what? That's not from ilm. That a person go back and forth with someone and start calling them dirty names. Name calling is not the way that we refute.
No.
Calling people, and it's all name calling. So calling one blind followers or calling people, deviants and all this type of stuff. This is not how the scholars refute. And it's a manner on these people, as we see here in this agreement, is a manner with the brothers. And they're not telling this to the people. It's in a manner because now you can have someone disliking Sheikh Rabi'. And this is a proof. You can have someone disliking Sheikh Muhammad ibn Hadi. No. You can have someone disliking any scholar if you keep using the scholars are behind us. The scholars support us in our decision. And you're not taking it back to the scholars at all. And you're not doing what the scholars told you to do.
They're not saying that. Sheikh Muhammad is not saying what you're saying.
At all. The Sheikh is not saying none of that.
No.
So here you see that the ninth point he brings here, and this is going to drive it home for everyone because it's driving home for me. فيما يتعلق بتعاون مع إخوانهم والسلفيين. Allahu Akbar.
Subhanallah.
The Sheikh said this agreement is concerned with the brothers in question that they have good what?
Relations.
And that they work with and assist and aid their other Salafi brothers. Right? That is general.
Not just inside of the group.
That's not restricted. This is general. He said they're brothers. Whether their brothers be anywhere, you see that they work with them in harmony. They don't have to be in the same, they don't have to always do lectures together, classes together, but they aid one another in support with their mouths. A person comes to you and says, brother, what do you say about so-and-so? He's a student. Or so-and-so came from here. He's teaching the books of the ulama. He's teaching the books of the salaf. What do you say about him? This person, he should say something kind. No. He should say something good. Make dua for him. Because he's spreading, as Sheikh Shamari mentioned. He should say something good for this person. Not what we see from the likes of our brother Hassan Somali. We have seen this from him. And Abu Khadeejah. What happened to the agreement? We have seen that you brothers have not stick to this agreement. That you, alhamdulillah, you're warning against innovation. And this is something that needs to be warned against. But everybody that hold up the mantle of that which is correct, you can't say that you're doing what the Sheikh said here. He said, this is our rights to them. He said, we advised them with that. And we advised them countless times in many meetings. He said that they are to follow the statement with action. And that the actions are confirmed by the statements. Or they are denied by the statements. Right? Meaning that the person, he's telling them that we're going to we're going to weigh a person's statement based off his or her actions. No. This goes back to what Sheikh Suleiman Ruhaili said. He said that, and Sheikh Ubaid said as well. Remember what he said? If a person is teaching, whether he's known or not known, we're going to weigh which he's teaching according to what?
Exactly.
To the Quran and the Sunnah of Muhammad.
We don't have to know his name.
We don't have to know.
We listen to Durus. He's saying, call Allah, call Rasulullah, Fahm Sahabi, sticking to the Shuruh. He's sticking to the books of the Aqidah, but the explanation of the scholars, the known scholars of the Sunnah, and the brothers is saying, call Allah, call Rasulullah. He's sticking to the principles of the Sunnah that's laid down. And you only got to, then you hear he's teaching somewhere, have glad tidings for him. Have good thoughts of the brother. In fact, call him. Say, okay, I don't know you, Sheikh, but I'm Barakallahu Fiqh. And
even people that live in call him, make dua.
Make dua for him. If you know somebody lives in the neighborhood, tell him to go there and learn. That lives in his particular neighborhood. Tell him, say, there's a brother there teaching. There's a brother there teaching Sunnah. There's a brother teaching the books of Muhammad Wahab, books of Ibn Taymiyyah, books of Ibn Qayyim, books Bin Baz, Uthaymin, Muqbil. Inshallah, Masjid Falan and Masjid so-and-so. This Masjid, go learn from the brother. You live closer to him. This is Salafiyah.
SubhanAllah. Also think about what Sheikh Rabi', we passed it around, we circulated. That you can even tell a person who is a arithmetic teacher, a person who teaches math, you can tell that he's Salafi even in his lessons, right?
No.
So, I mean, alhamdulillah, the Sheikh said that.
Nah.
So,
That's funny,
what do you think
That's
about
true.
a person? He don't have to be known to the brothers. He don't have to be known to the brothers. We look at his actions. What if there's an agreement with? This is how the ulama work. We look at his actions. His action. Also, Sheikh Somali brought a good benefit to us. He said that, think about it. If that person is in that region teaching, or he's in that area or that vicinity teaching knowledge from the books of the Salaf, he's teaching Tawheed.
Mm-hmm.
If you remove that particular person due to your warning and stuff like that, who else going to teach there? We're in the Kensington section. We are in the Kensington section. And anyone know about Philadelphia, they already know that this is a rough patch down here. I mean, we could do a documentary. We just step outside.
Gotham City.
We could, we call it Gotham down here. But we are in a city that is drug infested. This is the part we at. And there is no masjid besides the masjid way up that's up. And it's not actually in Kensington. It's a part of, it's way up.
I think it's called Umar Farouk. It's called Masjid Umar Farouk.
No, not Masjid Umar Farouk. That's a little bit down over here on Tourisdale. We're talking about
Taha.
That's a little bit up the way. But we're here between Allegheny, Clearfield, Somerset, Lehigh. This is the masjid in that area. The service in that area. And we had the likes of our brother Anwar Wright. When the masjid was open, this is about 4 or 5 years ago, and we asked Allah to forgive our brother. The brother, he made a statement to another brother of ours. He said, tell those brothers to close down the masjid. No one told them to open the masjid. He said, close down the masjid and have them brothers go to, Bin Baz wasn't up at this time. Have them go to Mukbil, Germantown, Ahlul Hadith. This is what he mentioned at that time. And I find it very, the brother at the time when he said this to him, he said, you just passed the fatwa. And then Anwar replied and said, well, brother, we can call overseas and ask right now. He said, no need to. You just passed the hukum. And in this agreement here, we see that you don't do this. No. So normally on top of that, I had the honor by the permission of Allah to ask Sheikh Abdul Majid a question here at the masjid about closing down the masjid. He said, La abadan. Also, Sheikh Rabi'a was asked pertaining to this particular masjid about closing down this masjid here in Kensington. The Sheikh said, La abadan. Yeah. You don't close it down. It's a place of Tawheed. It's a place where La ilaha illallah is established, regardless if it's a part of a certain organization or not. And this is something that we see that the younger students are falling into, and it's easy to fall into. I'm not saying that I'm safe from it or anybody's safe from it. We just ask Allah for thabat, for firmness, and we try to stick to the ulama. Any one of us can fall to this, meaning we can fall down. Any one of us can fall into this, meaning that what? Start to make statements about things that we have no knowledge of. No. And the brother was hasty when he said close. Why would you say close down a masjid? We in Darul Kufr. Any masjid that called to La ilaha illallah is a thorn in the side of the people of Kufr. No. It's a thorn in the side of the people of Bid'ah. Anytime La ilaha illallah is said, it is the thorn of what? It is a thorn.
Why close
Sheikh Mukbil made a beautiful statement to the students and his advice to the students of knowledge. Look what he said. This is hikmah. The Sheikh said, every time a person called to Tawheed, he is a warning against what?
Shirk.
Every time a person is calling towards Sunnah, he's warning against what?
Bid'ah.
Every time a person is calling towards Iman, he is warning against what?
Kufr.
Every time a person is calling towards Ta'ah, he is going against what?
Disobedience.
Disobedience. And this is what's going on. So if you hear your brother and your sister actually teaching and propagating this dawah, don't make it reclusive. Don't shut them down. Because what happened is, how are you going to sell it to the people here that everybody is off it and you're not? Can't sell that.
You can't sell that. That's impossible.
How? Everyone's off it, but you aren't. Think about that.
And at the end, the Sheikh, the 10th point, in the conclusion, he's going to say, نُوصِيَهُمْ بِوَصِيَّةِ اللَّهِ لَنَا كَمَا هِيَ وَصِيَّةُ جَلَّ وَعَلَى لِلسَّابِقِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِنَا. He says, أَلَّا وَهِيَ وَصِيَّةُ بِالتَّقْوَى اللَّهِ جَلَّ وَعَزَّ. And he mentions, he said, in closing, we advise them with what Allah has advised us with and those before us. That, what is this? It is the advice of having taqwa, fearing Allah Azza wa Jal, in secret and in open, inwardly and outwardly. نقول لهم اعلموا أن الله يحول بين المرء وقلبه. He said, and we say to them, know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is knowledge and well aware of what is in the heart of a man. Allah knows in your chest. Allah knows what you intend. Allah knows what you want to do. And he goes on, he says, وَهُوَ سُبْحَانَهُ لَا تَخْفَى عَلَيْهِ خَافِيَةٌ, and nothing is hidden from Allah, so the most glorified. Nothing is hidden from Allah. What you're doing, the back alley deals, the undercutting, no matter who it is, not talking about the particular brothers, all of us, me, Abu Zayd, every Muslim, everybody in the world, watch what you do and what you say. What's your intent when you call somebody of his name? What's your intent when you want the masjid closed? What's your intent behind any of these things? What's your intent when you only call to your classes and call to your Arabic classes and call to only your masjid? What is the intent behind it? Is the intent for Allah or is to establish your organization? And we got to be very, very careful.
Very, very careful. He said from the most greatest of signs of that is that and takuna da'watuhum lin-nas khalisan lillahi jalla wa ala. And I think this is very important for all of us to understand. And this is a beautiful advice even to myself, is that their dawah, meaning the dawah of these particular brothers in the West, should be based off of sincerity to Allah. That's number one. Aqastu minha hidayat an-nas ila al-haqi la ila anfusihim. That their intentions and their objectives from that is to guide the people to the truth, not to themselves. And one of the signs when a person is not calling to Allah and he actually calling to himself, and you really need to understand this, anytime the person is directing the people away from that which is sound and correct towards either his understanding, his misapplication, or his misunderstanding from that which is correct, and is not in alignment or agreement, he don't take the proper means, he is calling to himself. An example of that is if a person is calling you to something that Allah and His Messenger have not sanctioned, that has not sanctioned, and this person does not know the rules or regulations pertaining to that particular thing he's calling to you, he is actually calling to himself. And what is my proof to this? Allah Jalla wa Ala, He said that وَلَمْ يَسْتَجِبُوا, they do not respond to you, they do not answer you. Bal, rather they do what? Follow their desires.
There you go.
They follow their desires. So the ulama have derived from this verse in Surah Qasas that any time a person go against the command of the Prophet ﷺ, he's in actuality following what?
His desires.
His desires. So if a person is going against that which Allah and His Messenger have sanctioned, and he's calling to that which Allah and His Messenger have not sanctioned, even if it comes under the guise of calling to Allah and His Messenger, in reality he's calling to himself.
No.
And this is important. It's a big one. So the Shaykh said, not to themselves. They don't call to themselves. And he said, فَلَا يَكُونَ مَقْصُودُهُمْ بِذَلِكَ الظُّهُورُ عَلَى غَيْرِهِمْ وَلَا الرِّئَاسَةَ عَلَيْهِمْ. Another point here that the Shaykh said. He said, likewise, their intention should not be to make themselves victorious over anyone outside of themselves, nor should it be to gain any type of leadership or position.
No.
Meaning, for example, it have reaches that the brothers on multiple occasions have told individuals that we are the ones who have been authorized here in the dawah in the West to actually what? Give dawah and to make sure you check in with us. This concept of checking in. You have to check in with us in order to set up your dawah here in the land. This is something that goes against that. The Shaykh is not saying that. He has not said this at once in this agreement. That even gave them the advice. And even if the Shaykh would have said that, I would have had a problem with that, because the Shaykh don't have no authority in the land of America.
No, he don't.
To give someone that. So this is not disrespect. It's just that you can't give someone that authority that you don't have. And alhamdulillah, the Shaykh haven't said that.
No, he hasn't.
He have not said that are we giving you the authority that people have to come back to you and that they have to check in with you in order to give dawah.
Because America has a government and a system. It has leadership and everything.
Exactly. And on top of that, even though we hear statements, and we heard a lot of statements, we heard the likes of Sheikh Mukbil praising our brother Abu Hassan Somali. And no doubt this praise have actually happened. And we take it in light of its context. And we take it in what it means.
Exactly.
And also, likewise, we don't go extreme on it. The Shaykh did not authorize that the brother be at the head of all the affairs of dawah. That's not what it meant. He praised the brother, alhamdulillah, because the brother was there. So, alhamdulillah, and the brother actually walked with him. Abdul Malik had a relationship with Sheikh Mukbil. And that's true. But we don't take it above that measure. Okay, we don't take it above that. Likewise, when we hear Sheikh Rabia saying about, go back to Abu Hamid Maghribi, then we take it in context. He's not saying that you refer your questions, you refer your affairs of ilm back to Abu Muhammad Maghribi. That's not what he's saying. That's not how I understood it. No scholar would tell you to do that. But he is a brother that Sheikh Rabia deems to be trustworthy in turn is disseminating knowledge. That if you're going to benefit in the West, then benefit with the brother. This is what I get from it. I don't know what you get from it, but that's what I get from it. I don't get that he gave him authority that we refer our affairs back to him. No. Likewise, Hassan Somali. I don't get the affair that we have to refer with Sheikh Rafeeq or make a statement that our brothers, that you work with our brothers, that is that. And it's not a manner. It's not trustworthy when the brothers take that and they make it profitable by taking those statements and then, using it against the people. Like, yeah, see, the scholars hold us up.
We are the leaders.
We are the leaders. You need to check us. The Sheikh said, nah, not should be their intent to become victorious over other people. And what are some of the signs of that? Think about it. Anytime a group don't want to work with no one else from amongst the Salafis, want to acknowledge anyone else from amongst the Salafis, everyone outside of that group got to be mumayyir, a term that was coined, and is ironic, a term that was actually not coined by the Salaf. You would never find this word. Something that the Sheikh Rahili mentioned, you would never find the Salaf using the word mumayyir. And actually, Sayyid Qutb is the one who first coined this word in his works. In terms of that. But I'm not saying this to say that the brothers are Ikhwan.
No,
I'm not going to go that
that
extreme.
No.
But what I am saying is just ironic enough that we're using this word, and that people, like the Sheikh saying, outside of their circle, they seem not to acknowledge those brothers. They seem not to work with those brothers. One brother said on our video, what did he say? Wallahi antum mumayyir.
No.
La khayrun fikum.
There's no good in it.
He said that you guys are mumayyir. Y'all practice tamyir. Y'all watered down the dawah. And you have no good in you whatsoever. So every time me and this brother call you to la ilaha illallah, that's not good. Every time we say Muhammad Rasulullah, that's not a good. Every time that we use the explanation of the ulama, explaining Sheikh Fawzan, the same scholars they using, that's not good.
That's good.
La khayrun fikum limada. La, we don't get to that. We have to remember the Sheikh said their intent should not to call to themselves, nor should their intent to be victorious over other groups, nor to seek positions leadership. كما قال ذلك الشيخ محمد بن عبد الوهاب رحمه الله في تفسير قوله تعالى. And we end with this statement here that the Sheikh said in his contract. Look what he said. This is beautiful. Just as it was stated by Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad Abdul Wahhab rahmatullah ta'ala alayh, and his explanation to the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal fi Surah Yusuf, ud'u ila sabilillah or sabil rabbika. Allah said, invite into the way of your Lord. Right into the way of your Lord. Wa ala basira, upon insight. Wa ana wa man tabi'ani ala basira, me whosoever follow me, upon basira. فإنه قال. So then he said about this verse, he said فيه تنبيه على إخلاص. Inside this verse, it is alarming and is alerting the reader or the listener or the person who's reading what?
To sincerity.
To what? To sincerity. To be sincere in his call. فإن كثير من الناس وإن دعا فإنما يدعو إلى نفسه أو كما قال رحمه الله. He said because many from amongst the people, when they invite or when they call, they only call to themselves. Or as the Sheikh have said. And then he ended with the salutations upon Muhammad sallallahu and upon his family and his companions and those who follow in goodness. And he said, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. And he said that this was written by Muhammad ibn Hadi al-Maqali, and it was written on the 20th, the 2nd, 1426. For those who don't know, this is the second month of the Hijri counter, which is Safar, the 20th day, and this is 1426, which is about 12 years and 4 months ago, which corresponds to our calendar, March 30th, 2005, and this was on the Wednesday. The Wednesday. And like we said, we just want to remind our beloved brothers, they have signed this. As we said, Amjad Rafeeq, we got his signature on here. Hassan Somali, he have his signature on here. Yusuf Bowles have his signature on here. Abu Hakim Bilal Davis have his signature on here. And it's had the stamp of Maktab Salafiyah. Abu Khadeejah, as we said, someone put his signature here. However, we got some reports that he did not place this there. But we remind you, brothers, and we remind anyone in the field of dawah, that what happened to the agreement. We're not saying that they broke the agreement. That's for you guys to decide. You look at their works and you look at what they have done since then, and you see if they are in alignment or in agreement with Sheikh Muhammad Hadi and other scholars have told these brothers to do in the West. And you weigh and see whether or not these brothers are going against it. Again, as we said in the beginning of this video, and we're going to say it again, we are giving pure advice. This is not bashing. This is pure advice. We have seen from our brothers that certain things have happened and certain things have transpired, that we asking them collectively, we're making the call, that we fight against fanaticism. Many people from the commoners are running around because they don't know what bid'ah is, and they are calling other people bid'ah, ahlu bid'ah, mubtadir. And this is something that is extreme and is a great fitna.
No.
We also seeing in our society that these social ills that we have in our communities are not being addressed, especially on a large scale that is being addressed on the Ahlul Bidah front.
No.
We also seeing that our brothers are not working with anyone who's willing to work with them from amongst the Salafi du'ats.
No.
We don't see that from our brothers, that we ask them to open up your doors. Open up your doors and work with your brothers, even if he disagree with you. Have you not heard what Shaykh Uthaymeen said? He said that if two people disagree, and they both disagree based on evidence, in reality they are agreeing, even though they outwardly disagree.
Exactly.
Because they are basing it upon evidence why they disagreeing in the first place.
Exactly.
This can be found in this book called Kitab al-Ilm. So we advise our brothers again, open up the door, be sincere, as the Shaykh reminds you, and work with the brothers.
No.
Stop saying that the brothers don't want to work with you. Stop twisting the words of the people, and stop using Twitter as a platform to talk bad. You cannot monopolize this dawah. This dawah is too vast. You can't restrict it.
You can't restrict it.
Okay? Go ahead.
And last but not least, before we end, 3 things that we got to start. I'm making a call to the community. Not just those brothers. Them too, though. Hassan Somali, Hassan Malik, all of them. Anwar, all of you. I mean, to ourselves, everybody. There's 3 things we need to establish right now. Academics, social programs that clean up some of these social ills, along with Tawheed, being the head of the social program, along with Tawheed, and build some wealth in our communities. We need academics, we need to fix these social ills, and we need wealth. We need to build wealth in our communities to be able to hire people, be able to get our women off of Section 8 and off welfare. We need to build some wealth, and we can't do that divided.
We can't do it divided, and number one, we can't do that without going up the chain. So those who have excelled academically and those who are at the high level, we have to start acknowledging them. And they are the ones that can address some of these issues, and then we work like that, work alone. We have to do that. Inshallah ta'ala. Jazakallah khairan.
Man, like
Subhanakallah wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.